Hi, Gemini. Thanks for joining me for your April 2016 forecast for the month. I'm so happy to be here. It's a beautiful Southern California day, and I'm using the Alchemical deck by Robert M. Place, my steadfast deck. For those of you who've watched my forecast for the last 3 years or so, this is my fave. This is my go-to. There's a lot of planetary retrogrades this month, so before I jump in, I want to make sure everyone has their helmet on. I want to thank you for subscribing and liking and sharing these posts and for your support on my Facebook page, Audrey, Alison, Astrology, and Tarot. All right, Jemmy, I've got mad love for you. I've also got some mad news for you about your ruling planet going retrograde in April. But let's start at the top of the month with two transits, two personal planets getting a move on the 5th of April. We have Venus entering Aries, and we have Mercury entering Taurus. Venus is going to enter Aries in your 11th house, your social sector, your friendships, your clubs and groups and organizations. And then she stimulates the fire signs in Sagittarius, or the planets in Sagittarius, Mars and a retrograde Saturn. Venus will trine this energy between the 7th and 11th house. This is great for business partnerships, turning friendships into business partnerships, having success around your goals with friends, goals with the committed relationship as well. Very loving, balanced, easy, harmonious energy with Venus trining the 7th house of marriage. Gemmy, you've got a lot of work going on in the marriage sector. Saturn is retrograde there, creating some limiting reviews, limitations and restrictions. Mars is aggressively in this section, in this sector, giving you stamina for the relationship, but making a lot of angry aggression happening with the marriage or their significant other. Or it can apply in so many different ways, these energies. I'll get to the cards to get more channeling involved, but when Mars is in the 7th, for those of you looking for marriage, this is a great energy to draw in. But Saturn retrograde here is almost having you not be as open to accepting other people right now. It's more about restriction and limitations. Now Mercury entering Taurus. Taurus for you is your 12th house, Gemini. It's the sign right before you. And in astrology, the sign right before the first house, solar first house, is the last house on the wheel. And this is the most quiet, most spiritual, the house of release, the house of endings, the house of quiet, the house of rest, peace. And Mercury going in here, I don't mind at all. I like when the 12th house is activated for Gemini, because you tend to be very outward, but sometimes Geminis need to go inward and need to quiet down that mind, that Mercury-ruled mind of yours. And this is what the 12th house does for you. And when Mercury enters Taurus, he trines Pluto in Capricorn in the 8th house of quiet as well, but it's a secretive house. It's a sexual house. It's about intimacy and even shared resources, the 8th house. But Mercury in the 12th wants you to analyze, review what no longer serves you, what needs to be released in the 12th. And Mercury will retrograde in this sector, and I'll get to that a little later because that's at the end of the month. Next, we have our new moon on the 7th. And this new moon is in 18 degrees of Aries, where Venus is stationed. So conjunct Venus, conjunct Uranus, and the sun and the moon are there. This new moon is great for new friendships, new connections, the right people, new clubs, connecting your name with groups that you're proud of. So new goals as well. When the new moon is in the 11th, set your intentions on what you'd like to accomplish in the year as far as the goal of your path and your wishes. That's the 11th house. Think big. On the 17th, Mars retrogrades. in Sagittarius through 23 degrees of Scorpio through June 30th. So this Mars retrograde, where you have the energy for relationship and then not the energy for the relationship, it's kind of like Mars gets a little bit of depletion. Um, when he retrogrades, there's less stamina in the sector that he's sitting in. And this is in your marriage, or it's in your business partnership. But then he goes deeper into that Scorpio sector, and that's your health sector. So that is a time of rest when it gets to May and June. You need recuperative rest when Mars retrogrades in the 6th house of health and daily routine. And that'll be fine because you have a lot of um, planets in the house of rest. So rest would suit the Gemini throughout spring. On the 18th, Pluto retrogrades. Still a very intense planet. He retrogrades in the 8th house. A lot of you Geminis have dealt with death and have dealt with people passing when Pluto is applied in the sense of loss to the 8th house of death. But it could also mean an intensity to your sexual experiences or your intimate relationships. Again, applying very differently because these have different definitions. So it's best to book a reading to get a very accurate transit reading, whether you use your chart or you just use the cards. On the 19th, a day later, the Sun enters Taurus like he does every year on the 19th of April. And this is the 12th house again, house of rest. I love this. It's best to chill out, and you have a lot of planetary energy insisting upon it. It's best to chill out when Mercury's about to go into a little retrograde stance for you, Gemmy, because he rules you first on the astrological wheel, then Virgo. So you're always affected by a Mercury retrograde, regardless of the sector that it falls in. But for you, this sector is in the 12th house. What a great place to have a retrograde. I don't mind a Mercury retrograde in the 12th because it is the review of the subconscious mind. Your dream life gets very activated. And the retrograde will be the 28th at 23 degrees of Taurus through May 23rd, 14 degrees of Taurus, clearing his shadow officially on the 7th of June, which means he gets back to that 23 degree mark of Taurus, the degree in which he retrograded. Quiet, rest, dream recall, subconscious mind, releasing addictions. I like this retrograde. I don't mind it. Now, for those of you who don't want to release addictions, that's going to be hard for you, but these planetary energies work for you. It's time to do it. It would work for you to do so because Venus, a day later after Mercury retrogrades, enters into the 12th house to smooth things over and create that balance that you need in that sector before you might make some changes. You might get rid of a few things, a few people, a few habits. Oh, I missed the full moon. That's on the 22nd. Our full moon's at 2 degrees of Scorpio on April 22nd. And this is in the 6th house of health for you, Gemmy. Full moon brings closure and an ending in the 6th, so maybe you're feeling better. If those of you who had ailments, you could see them come to an end around the time of the full moon on the 22nd. Also, some type of scheduling could come to an end around that time, a commitment. Okay, let's see what the cards have to say. I've been shuffling the whole reading for Gemini for April 2016. And if you'd like to read with me, I'm at audreyallison.com. I read all through the week. Let's get to it, Gemmy. I'm excited to see what the cards say for you for April 2016. Thank you for your patience. Okay. Gemini. Lady of Staves. This is a card of dance and expression and a love of the new and passion. And it's a fire sign female, Leo, Sagittarius, Aries. Next card. I've gotten this a few times, and I think it's a general theme of the time we're in. There's a lot of chaos in the world right now, politically, and, you know, the chaos of everything that's happening socially, and this is a card of loss and pain and anxiety. So let's see what comes up. Now the King of Fire. So Leo, Aries, Sagittarius. So these fire signs are coming through in the cards for you, Gemmy. Ooh, I love it. I love that this card is here. The Nine of Cups is your wish card. And the 11th house, where the new moon is, for your goals and wishes. Your wishes are going to come true, okay? There's one more card. Four of Swords. This is a Gemini deep in thought. You are ruled by the swords in the tarot. This is the 12th house of going inward, getting spiritual, meditation, reflection, quiet, rest, peace, subconscious mind. This is the 12th house. This is where you need to be all April. And if you do this, you get the wish, fulfillment. So I think what's led you to this state of peace are these. This one especially. So these fire signs, Geminis love fire signs, by the way. I find that most Geminis date Sagittarians or Leos or Aries. And since Sag is your polar opposite, I am getting a lot of Sagittarian energy from this card, because when I do readings for myself, this is Sag. So I like to refer to the cards in the way that I connect with them, but it's not going to be that way for everyone, so I keep it open in these general readings. But Sagittarians are your polar opposite. So if you're a Gemini that's born, late June Gemmy, the summer solstice Gemmies, the winter solstice energy is a Sagittarius, the opposite of you, but that also is very dynamic energy, to say the least. It could be destructive energy. Your polar opposite is good for you, but could also be your nemesis. And Geminis like their nemesis. I mean, we like to have our enemies sometimes, but because they give us life. But you don't want to have that kind of energy if it's bringing your heart down. You just want to clip that off. You want to get rid of that stuff. You might be releasing a few fire signs in your life right now. Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, male or female, because you have the lady that arrived, younger female, and you have a little older male that arrived. Well, if it's not older or younger, it can't apply that way to everybody. So if it resonates with you about the astrological sign, then that might just be the person. Either way, it's time for you to hone in and retract. Use your 12th house, get spiritual on them. Don't talk it out. I know every Gemini wants to talk the whole thing out, but try to hone it in and choose your words wisely when Mercury goes retrograde. You don't want to say anything you don't mean, and you don't want to say anything in the heat of the moment while you have Mars in your 7th house of relationship prodding you to just express the hell out of yourself, and with a tone that might be a little sharp. So you really just want to reassess everything when the 12th house is activated between Mercury and the Sun there, and then Venus ending up there and Mercury retrograding there. Shh. It's time to be quiet. It's time to take this guy's advice and not express yourself. You see how he's even like hiding a little bit under this, under the earth? If you have a cave at home that you go to, this is the time. And it's not because, it's so explosive you need a bomb shelter. Sometimes it's just not worth it to express yourself because you're not being heard or understood, and you don't want to waste your time. No Geminis want to waste their time. We don't have time for it. We've got places to go and people to see. We got shit to do. Okay, Jimmy, I hope this was helpful. I apologize for the breaks. It's crazy out here, but I'm thankful for you viewing and taking your time with me. I'll see you next month. I'm wishing you a sweet April. Remember, the sky is limitless, so reach for the stars.